Yo, hey, check this out.
You're gonna learn today.
We must stand together, all together as one. United, we must stand together.
Welcome to this week's edition of Lakeside Chats. I'm your host, Brother John Muhammad, and I'm here with Brother Jabbar Edmond. And this is really one of those interviews that I'm really excited about, the chat, and I'm really looking forward to conducting. Because a lot of times Brother Jabbar is always on the other side of the camera, and so today we're going to do a one-on-one exclusive and really get into, you know, who is this Mr. Jabbar Edmonds, Brother Jabbar as I call him, and so we're really looking forward to it. So you can definitely make sure you go to the page, facebook.com/see that center, and join the conversation. Tell a friend, and we're right here at the South Park Lake doing the Lakeside Chat. So we'll let Brother Jabbar, as always, we do self-introduction, so you can do a brief introduction and then we'll start the conversation.
All right, I'm Jabbar Edmonds, independent filmmaker, photographer. I do a lot of different things, graphic arts. I'm active in my community. I'm always around City Hall, you know, different events. I work with a lot of community groups on a lot of different projects, you know, over the last few years. I've kind of worked with everybody in some form or fashion.
Yes, sir.
I'm a part of a lot of different groups as well, not only working for them, but I'm also a member. I pay my dues.
Right.
So, and that's it.
Can you tell me about 909 Films and how that got started?
909 Films got started, me, Eric Alexander, a few of our partners and associates, Fo Sheezy, Smooth Hines, rest in peace Eric Carter. We all got together and made a movie. Okay. And from that, we built the company. Right.
So what gave you the idea to make a movie? I mean, that's something that you don't really hear about, particularly on a local level. A lot of that stuff you see coming out of California, or, you know, the people don't think of St. Petersburg as a movie city. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We had the opportunity. Eric had a real good store, and we built on the store. We built with characters, and everybody played their role. You know, and it came together real nice. We had the resources. We had what it took to do it. You know, and we had the audacity. Right.
That's what I mean. Like, as far as breaking the mold, because, you know, a lot of times we wouldn't even think that we are able to do something like that on a local level, and that it'll take a big studio to produce it. And, you know, you need all of those type of things. So, you understand you did 3 movies, right?
Yeah, really we did 5. But,
okay.
But yeah, we've really been working.
Okay. You know. So you did 5 movies, huh? I know you were putting them out back to back, usually around this time of year. So that was the whole We On Go.
We On Go.
And so how did you get involved into this social activism? I remember seeing an interview that you did. I forget where it was for, but I saw an interview where the brother kind of tried to put you in that, you know, social activist box. Community activist. Yeah. And I love the quote that you said. You said, "I'm not a community activist. I'm just active in my community." So, so how did you begin that whole process of getting active and getting involved in the community?
Doing the movies. And when we were doing the movies, it opened a lot of opportunities because, you know, I have a talent as far as the filmmaking, the editing, the graphic artists that a lot of community groups need. Right. And at that time, a lot of groups were trying to get into that. And by me having that talent and willing to make that talent accessible to them, because it's not, you know, it's not something that, you know, every group can afford. Right. You can't afford a cameraman to come film it and edit it and help you get your promo together. Right. A lot of times your budget isn't ready for that type of expenditure. So that kind of made me a kind of go-to guy. You know what I mean? And it kind of started here at Child's Park. At that event,
Stop the Violence
For the
rally?
Stop the Violence rally.
That was 2012 when we the STV 12 we were doing that thing.
Yup, SD 12, and Supercat called me, and then that's how I met you. That's my first time. Well, I always knew Mama T, but Mama T was
Right.
there. It was just a lot of the community leaders there. Lisa Wheeler was there
Right,
before she
right.
even was running and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, it was a lot of good links at that event. I swear.
Right.
To look back on
Yeah,
it was a lot of good links.
And that was a part of the whole idea when we got together, Supercat and myself, with that whole STV 12. We called specifically just community leaders as a whole and saying, okay, let's all drop our titles, drop our organizational affiliations, and let's just work together on stopping the violence. And we developed that coalition. And you're right, man. Looking back on it, we had a lot of powerful people and influential people in the city, and I think that's what contributed to the success of that event. Also, I remember the most memorable interaction I had with you, thinking about first times, was at the Yard when G Breed. He did an event at the Yard. And Rossi was there taking pictures.
Yeah, I remember
R.I.P.
that.
Rossi.
Wow.
And we was there. Yeah, and I saw you just sat down and you had the camera. I said, what's going on? We started kind of vibing. And that's when you were telling me, man, I'm just making these movies and doing these documentaries.
Me and my son. I got pictures. I remember that day.
That was shout out to G Breed and the One Tree family and the rap, because he did the Stop the Violence rally at the Yard. He had like local artists and everything. So
I remember what you said. You said that day, Brother John, I swear you was like a snake is a snake, no matter its color. I just remember that when you were saying that, and I was like, dang, boy, that's the truth.
It is.
Who said that?
And that's just how it is. Because, you get different people saying, about races and all of that stuff. But, we got to get beyond that and start looking at, as Dr. King said, the content of the character. You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of well-meaning white folks that try to help us and do things like that too. And so you can't really negate that, So with this social activism, right, and just being active in the community, I know recently, one of the most recent projects that I know you were involved with was the Martin Luther King celebration. And it was the kind of, I want to say, wouldn't say controversy, but I'll say controversy because I don't have another word for it. But it was a little, I guess a better word would be confusion about, what was happening with the MLK celebration, because, historically, in recent history, we always, after the parade, we would go down to 9th Street after the parade. And then this year, starting last year, there was some conversation about, moving the activities from 9th Street to Tropicana Field. And I know you were involved in some of those discussions and in some of those meetings. So could you share a little bit of your experience with that whole?
I think this Martin Luther King 2016 was actually one of the biggest ever as far as events. All the way from the Breakfast with Jamal Bryant and the two events at the Trop and the events on 9th Street. In the totality, I think it was actually one of the biggest in history, as far as the city is concerned. I mean, we had some big ones before, but in recent time, that was one of the biggest.
Yes.
Because there was a lot going on, and it wasn't just centered around 9th Street or the parade.
Right.
It was Day of Action services going on.
Right. The Day of Action, the Martin Luther King Day of Service that Darryl Roussan, introduced. I think it was 2012, 2013. He introduced that.
And actually, all that whole weekend was just like a monumental amount of stuff going on. So I think we did allow the confusion to overshadow what good did happen.
Right.
And I think in our community we do that a lot. We get distracted. And once we get distracted, we lose focus, and we don't even see the gains or how we won.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's true. I know, Facebook and social media, of course, is a outlet that you can't ignore, and that's where a lot of people form their views and opinions on things, good, bad, or indifferent. And sometimes there's data that's missing, and so you can't really make an informed decision. And I put out a post, and it came back later, and actually, matter of fact, it started last year, just to kind of talk about it, you know, we say let's talk about it. Last year, I remember being in a meeting and they were saying, should we do something different, you know, for Martin Luther King as opposed to gathering on 9th Street? And so January of last year, I asked that question: should we look at developing some new tradition as opposed to the tradition of, you know, hanging out on 9th Street? And to my surprise, it really showed a lot of the division in the city. It didn't cause it. A lot of people say I caused the division, but it really just showed.
I think, Brother John, the Martin Luther King celebration, you know, has been a spot of division for our community for a very long time, way before Brother John, way before Jabal.
Right.
And historically, it has divided our leadership. And that one day divided our leadership, so the rest of the year, our community hasn't gotten much done.
Right.
And then before you know it, Martin Luther King Day is back again.
Right.
And now the division is back home.
Yes.
And my thought on that is, right now, we can't afford that.
Right.
Our community is the opportunity of a lifetime going on in St. Pete. And our community can't afford to constantly be divided by one day.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're fighting.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you said historically that day has been a dividing point. Before me, before you. So what do you mean by that? What are some of the historical things?
Well, historically, you know, the city has always fought against it. You know what I mean? In some form or another.
Okay.
And the divisions amongst the community leaders is which way the parade should travel.
Okay.
Which route it should go.
Because it used to go down
9th Street to Lake McGorry or something like that.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
then I think they moved it to Central. Like, this is probably before my time.
Yeah.
You know, I was a child when all this was going on. But our community leaders were still fighting these battles.
Right, and that's when it was actually 9th Street. It's Martin Luther King Street now, but I remember, you're right, when I was real little, the parade used to go down 9th Street, and then I thought it ended on Central or something, and then they took it from 9th Street and moved it to go the route that it's going now.
And it's really been going that route since, like, really all my life.
Right.
You know,
right.
maybe the beginning, my first times going to the Martin Luther King parade, it was on 9th Street.
Yeah.
We skipped school.
Yep.
It was like a skip school day. Our parents let us not go to school because it wasn't a national holiday.
Right.
And we hung out on 9th Street.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all. That's what I remember my earliest memories.
Right.
So I absolutely respect that tradition and I honor that tradition. I absolutely feel that, you know, we don't have the space to tell people when and how to celebrate.
Yeah.
That's communism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want to throw big words out there like that, but that's
true. Yeah.
That's what that is. And sometimes in our own self-righteousness, we feel I should have the ability to tell you what and how and when you should do it, and where.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that in of itself is unconstitutional.
So what's this whole thing with it was like, what do you think led to the confusion where people thought that it was going to be a either or type deal?
Because that's kind of the spot our community is in.
Okay.
It's either you're going to go to this breakfast and not go to that one.
Right.
Either you're going to go to this banquet or not that one. It's not too many people who feel that I can go to both. I can do it all.
Right.
Because like me, I did it all. That I went to the breakfast, I went to the banquets, I was on 9th Street, and I was at the truck.
Right.
You know, I enjoyed my city.
Yes.
You know, I live in paradise and I enjoy paradise. And I travel freely through my paradise.
Right.
And I'm not boxed in.
And you know, that's funny because it kind of, we talk a lot of times about the young generation and this whole neighborhood thing, right? Where you got people from Childs Park that won't go to Botley Park for an event, and people that won't come from Bethel to come here for an event. And what you just said, it kind of reminded me of the things that we condemn young people for doing, you know, these neighborhood beefs. It seemed like that's present in these organizations and in these groups.
And it definitely is, and it really shows during a time like Martin Luther King time, when there's a scramble for resources, and there's a scramble for people and audience.
Right.
So they're not only competing for the resources and the money to have the event, they're also competing for the people to participate in the event.
Because everybody's
pulling for the resources, and really it's like it's exhausting. We're exhausting our community for one day.
Right.
It's 364 more days for us to do. We cannot be distracted by the party and the parade.
Right.
Or the parade after the party. Or whatever
however you want
to do it.
Yeah.
You know, we have to really focus and say, you know what, okay, that's a good day. We had a good day. We have business to do. It's a $1 billion proposal about the truck.
Right.
And we're talking about the parking lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we have our
the event. We celebrated the event that we were at the trop, but we weren't in the trop.
We weren't in the truck.
Right.
It's we're while we're partying and debating and having such a mass confusion about where we're gonna party at, City Hall is deciding how much they're gonna get for the deal.
Yeah.
And how many billions, because there's some people say it's $1 billion project that may come from it. And my question is, where are we at that table?
Right.
What stake do we have in it?
Right.
And is the distraction from the parade and the party after parade distracting us from getting these type of answers?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's easily $100-200 million worth of construction going downtown St. Pete. How much of that prosperity is made it our way?
Right.
Do we even know? Has anybody crunched the numbers
To see like how both parts
how
of the
has
city
it impacted us? Has anybody crunched those numbers right now? Not 2012.
Right.
You know what I mean? Has anybody did the due diligence
recently to see
how moving the rays will affect our community?
Right.
And
because and you're right, because when they originally came, that was a dramatic thing, and
about the impact that it was going to have.
When they actually brought and started building the stadium, and they built the stadium without a team. I remember that thing sat empty for a long time.
So now that the team is proposing to either leave or shift locations on the property, whatever ideas they're coming up with, now that those things are on the table, are we at that table?
Right.
Are we accurately represented at that table? And I heard the proposal about the $5 million, and it was only a proposal, but I would really like our experts that have our community's best interest in mind to look at that deal. I'm not going to shun it and say, oh, that's peanuts. I'm not going to say that.
Deal. Right.
We don't have the data yet, so let's get the data. So while we're worrying about the party and we're planning for the parade, that same time and energy could get us way more money. Could do way more for our community. So when I see every organization having events and doing so much to honor Dr. King, it make me think about Dr. King. What was Dr. King really about? Was he about parades and parties, or was he about the economic justice for our community?
Right. That's a very good point. So let's stop there for a second. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come right back with more with Brother Jabbar Edmonds in the Lakeside Chat. Welcome back to the Lakeside Chat. Your host, Brother John Muhammad, here with Brother Jabbar Edmonds, and we're discussing some social activism, just doing a one-on-one exclusive with Brother Jabbar. And we talked about Martin Luther King, and I want to pick up on something that you said before we took the break. You mentioned the scramble for resources, right? And you said there's people trying to get resources to do these events and for this day. And I know one of the things that people were saying about the Tropicana event versus the Martin Luther King event was that people were being paid and paid off, I guess, for lack of another word, to actually do this event. So from what you've experienced, because like I said, and what you mentioned earlier, you in a lot of these different meetings and different planning sessions and strategy sessions. So would you mind talking a little bit about that scramble for resources and where people would get this idea that somebody was being paid off to try and stop the 9th Street thing?
See, and really that goes back that goes to the rumor mill, and there is, like every rumor, there is truth. There is truth that there is finances and resources for these events, like the Day of Service grants,
Right.
and the different agencies that offer grants. So there is resources for these events,
Right.
You know, and with that scramble for resources, it's a lot of animosity that's built up about the winners and the losers.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Winners
And
meaning those who actually get the
get the
resource.
grant and the ones who trying to get it.
Okay.
Or because historically one person has been getting it, or historically this group wants it now.
Right.
And that division causes us not to be at City Hall when they're talking about the $200 billion
the
deal.
real big deals,
When
right?
that deal comes up, I'm not going to talk to you because of that Martin Luther King thing that you've been doing.
Right, right.
And you might need my resources because I might have a legal team that works with me, but I won't let my team work with you because of what you did to me at that
Martin Luther King, right? Right.
and then say how Martin Luther King wouldn't want people standing on the corner of 9th Street.
Right. And that's your justification. Yeah.
But the reality of the situation is Martin Luther King wouldn't want this big economic gap that's forming in St. Pete right now. It's going from, the have-nots and the haves, and the gap is growing so fast, rapidly.
Right.
Go downtown, you see Lamborghinis and Rolls Royces. You come to the hood, people, it's lots and they've been their houses.
Right. Right.
That's a big gap right there.
That's true.
And that's a gap that's unfolding right in front of us.
Right.
While we're scrambling for these resources.
I know what they talked about the car show, because I know you usually do a car show, and the location. I remember one year you did it across the street from Sylvia's.
At another spot that we're partying at, but now it's being redeveloped, and we're not even sitting at the table.
Right.
See, and that's really what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
I didn't want to talk about the rumors.
Right.
I didn't want to assassinate another black leader's character.
Right.
I didn't want to down an organization.
Right.
I want to talk about the opportunities that we have in front of us right now that we're not paying attention to because we're distracted by the parade and the party.
Right. And this big, and that's very valid what you just said about the bigger picture, because we taking that spot across the street from Sylvia's and we parking cars on it and partying. We bringing people out and we putting bounce houses on it and celebrating. But the city's idea for that is to develop it and make warehouses and other things that they've debated. I don't know where they stand with what that development is, but you're right. We're concerned with 1 day, 2 day events, but they're looking at 20, 30 years.
And the problem is that it seems to be more profitable at times to get that 1 day event. Because you get a lump sum. I'm a hustler. I come from the hustle world.
Right.
So I understand how it feels to make a large sum of money in 1 day.
Right.
I understand the motivation behind that thought.
Right.
But when you step up to another plateau and there are millions of people depending on you, if not hundreds of thousands, and that's where ethics come in at.
Yes.
And then you can have integrity in what you're doing. You know what I mean? And that'll save our community in leaps and bounds, not just the black community. I'm talking about, when I say community, I mean this whole city.
Yeah, the whole city.
I don't talk about Childs Park or Bethel Heights, because I grew up in every neighborhood. I've lived everywhere around here.
Right.
So I honestly feel this is my community.
Yeah, the whole city.
The whole entire city.
And that's the other part of it. So when we talk about this whole seamlessness, and it's true. A lot of us don't see outside of our immediate area. We can only see right in front of our noses. What I want to do is kind of turn the corner and deal with a little bit more of your social activism. I know right now there's this campaign called Keep It Civil.
Yes.
Kofi Hunt, he's done a lot of the chats with us. He's done a couple of lakeside chats with us.
St. Pete for Justice.
St. Pete for Justice is the coalition. So could you tell us a little bit about St. Pete for Justice and that movement?
St. Pete for Justice. I'm also I work with St. Pete for Justice. I go to the meetings and I go to City Hall and I do what the coalition or what we
moving the agenda. Yeah,
and what it really is the Keep It Civil is a campaign because blacks are 7 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana in this particular area.
Okay.
So the stats are so alarming. We decided, we had a list of things that we wanted to do, and we decided that this would be the closest issue that affects the most people because you know, marijuana arrests affect poverty-stricken neighborhoods and blacks more than any other race, or not, because it's not necessarily race, because like I say, poverty, because it's also white poor people.
Right.
And we have it built in our mind that we're the only poor people in the world.
Yeah, when you do poverty studies, they're not studying race. They'll look at a breakout of it, but I know Lelman is one of those communities that is a part of the poverty study,
exactly.
poverty-stricken area, and it's been given a lot of attention
and
by
they
the
might have a
county.
lot of marijuana charges.
Right. That's true.
According to the stats.
According to the stats.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And St. Pete for Justice, they just had a meeting at City Hall, and I went in there, and like you said, Kofi Hunt and you know the St. Pete for Justice lead people, and I'm in there, and I'm like, you know, we're the only black people in here,
Right.
and it's affecting us more.
We're 7 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession.
But we're not at the meeting discussing decriminalizing it in our city.
Right.
We're not.
Right.
Our advocates and our groups are not there.
Right.
And,
So I understand that our so-called black organizations
exactly.
are not at the table when you're discussing policies and ordinances that's going to affect a large amount of black people.
And this is not a knock, because to be honest, this meeting is at 8 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning, where the average person has to be at work.
Okay.
So, and these organizations are full of volunteers, so you know these people got to work.
Right.
So, and I know that reality, because that's how I got into this a lot, helping you.
Right.
You had to go to work,
Right.
and I fill in at the meeting.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
and that
true.
ushered me through a lot of doors.
Right.
And that also allowed me to see that we have to have contingency plans within our groups to make these meetings. Because there's going to be these CRA meetings coming up.
Right.
There's going to be the meetings, more meetings about the dome and that plan that we need to be at. We need to be there.
Right.
And it needs to be just as important as the MLK Day of Service.
Yes.
And I'm not knocking MLK Day of Service.
I
You
understand.
know I love MLK. I got a book that you gave me about MLK that changed
From chaos to community,
That
man.
changed my life, Brother John. I still got a book. I got to get it to you. I'm sorry. But the book is so serious because you don't know that Martin Luther King from the history book.
Yes.
And this is his words.
Yes.
It's him telling his story. And that's the difficult part of the book also, because he speaks so eloquently.
Yes.
And he has such a vocabulary, you will have to read it over and over again, because it's really...
It's an eloquent book, and but it really outlines his vision from where he started to where we go. It's from chaos to community. For those who like to do the research, it's from chaos to community.
Must read.
Where do we go from here?
Must read.
And he's outlining the process for the struggle and what he experienced. Similar to how we're telling a little bit about what we're going through and experiencing in this whole journey. But it's a valuable book that shows a lot of insight about him and his process.
A similarity that I see in my community from that book is how Martin Luther King, his character was being assassinated.
Okay.
Before they assassinated.
Yes.
And we feel that the entire black community supported Martin Luther King as he marched in Selma, as he marched on the White House. But that's not the truth.
That's right.
He was getting pushback from his own brethren. He returned to, I think, Morehouse or somewhere he went back to where he was from, and was booed and was called the sellout.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because they just didn't understand the moves that he was making.
And the reality is, I see this playing out now in my community.
Right. Where the people who really mean well and are doing
being
good
called sellouts, and they're being called poverty pimps.
Right.
And in my eyes, I'm like, well, I'm reading this book, and Martin Luther King is saying how it's being done to him. And now I go out into the community, and I'm very active in my community.
Yes.
We said that.
Yes.
So when I can relate what a dead man's words is saying and how it's playing out in front of me in my community, that pauses me.
Yes.
And for me to be involved and wrapped up in that type of negativity and division, it paused me and said, you know what, Jabbar, step out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you see the fault in it. And I'm not going to point fingers and fault another man when I see the fault myself and can make the correction.
Yeah.
I've never went too far to make a correction.
Right.
So as I make my correction, I say, okay, well, what would you do next? Well, the next thing I do on Thursday, I'm going to go down to that CRA meeting.
Yes.
That's the first thing on my agenda.
Because you're always looking at the bigger picture.
The bigger picture, because that'll make us throw a better parade and party next year.
Right, absolutely.
And we won't have to ask nobody.
Yes.
We'll have our own finances.
And have our own resources, so that whole idea of scrambling to try and get something and compromising. Because like you said, a lot of times people compromise in their desire to comply, you know, with those resources. And I think that was a part of the pushback, you know, from a lot of the grassroots organizations, particularly those who were in support of the Martin Luther King side of it, the 9th Street side of it. Because my position is the same, and like you said, we make decisions based upon data, and good, bad, and indifferent, you know. And the data that I was thinking with, because I supported the Family Day at the Trop, and I also supported Martin Luther King after I started to see what was happening, because the way that I was getting the data because Martin Luther King, I remember when I used to go, and when I used to go and hang out on 9th Street, we used to just kind of hang around, and we was like a license day where we can do whatever we want. There wasn't really a quote-unquote organized celebration. It was more of just us.
It was organic.
It was just organic, and we would gather, and as I started to, you know, change, grow up, I guess you would say, that wasn't something that appealed to me. You know what I mean? Not that it was wrong or it was bad, but it was just something that didn't appeal to me. And so I stopped going. And I thought that was still happening. And so when I started asking the question, should we do something different? I was thinking from the perspective of that part of it. You know what I mean? Just to hanging out, singing, butt shaking on top of cars. You know what I mean? That wasn't something that appealed to me, but I still wanted to have something to do. There was a proposal that came up about a Family Day at the Tropicana Field, and I said, hey, that's a good idea, because now that's something that appeals to me. Again, not knocking what other people do, because what you said, we can't control how people choose to celebrate and how choose to express themselves. And so what I experienced and what I've seen after getting more data, I think this year was one of the best years because of all of that hype around it. And you know, when you threaten to take something from somebody,
they hold on tight.
They hold on tighter, and it gives it more value. And so I think there was a conscious effort to make this year's 9th Street celebration more organized, more reflective of the spirit of Dr. King and the energy, and I think that was accomplished because it was a beautiful celebration. I saw the pictures, it was a beautiful thing,
was love, man.
And it's something that should be continued and it should be supported.
I think we got to start with this all or nothing mentality. We got to understand that, you know what, some people want to shake their butt. I mean, some people want to twerk. Hey, listen, you feel me? I'm going to give it to you real. And guess what? You can't tell him he can't celebrate like that. When you go to Boston for the St. Patrick's Parade, they have cabs for the drunkards.
Because they know people going to be drunk.
They know you finna get drunk. So now, look at the accommodations the city provides when the organization is there. We're not finna sit here. We got the paddy wagons for you tough guys, but we really have these cabs for you to make it home safe and see you next year. That's the organization.
That's the organizational piece, and that's what people were fighting against. People didn't want it to be organized at first.
But see, and it's the thing. You know, the history of St. Pete, we're not a real, you know, St. Pete is St. Pete. So that initial organizational pushback is because people are cynical of the organizers. People are cynical of the people who've been organizing for us for these decades. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And so when you add in that cynicism, and so, no, I don't trust you to organize it, because next thing you know, you're going to organize it off 9th Street and organize it to Mars.
That's what happened, because it was there, you moved it to Central, and the rest is history.
And now the history is playing out, and now we got to come to the mind and say, you know what? Since you want to go somewhere with your kids, we're going to organize so you have yours. And since you want to go hang out and twerk a little something, we're going to have a twerk section over here for you. You know what I mean? And then when you get tired of twerking and your kids get dropped off by the babysitter, you can still make it over here and have a safe conducive atmosphere.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with the city financing it.
That's true.
There's nothing wrong with the city supporting it.
And here's what you just said is very real, because if you think about the Gasparilla Parade.
Thank you. They got the kids the night,
they have
the
the
day.
kids the day before. And then
know why? Because they know
Right.
what's going on is not kid appropriate.
Yeah.
And so instead of telling y'all at Gasparilla, this is a week after Martin Luther King.
Yes.
They're showing us how to organize.
Yes.
If we want to take a piece of the Gasparilla idea and implement it for Martin Luther King, and we'll have the biggest Martin Luther King. We already
got it. It's just.
But you know what I don't like is that our organizational skills should have matured by now. So when you ride into the city, like when the SPF 15 was going on, and you rode into the city coming from Clearwater, you see what was on that big billboard?
Yeah.
SPF 15, XX and O date. Why next year we can't have St. Pete, home of the largest Martin Luther King celebration in America?
Right.
From this date to this date, this event to that event to that event.
And then have a calendar that
A
has all of the
calendar, making it unified.
Yes,
So we
yes.
have 9th Street on there. We have the Trot on there. We have the breakfasts
on there.
We have the banquets. We have the day of services. So when you
Yes.
want to pick up paper and clean up,
Yes,
you know what I mean.
yes.
So that way it signifies the unity that we need.
Right, and the respect for the entire culture of the community.
And it
because,
trickles down from the top. So
Yeah.
now the people at the bottom see that the people at the top are organized and they are in unity.
Yes.
So now when I get back to my neighborhood and I see my neighbor needs some sugar, I might be more unified and give him some.
That's true. And that's the thing with unity. Unity, we always look at that as being uniformity.
Yes.
And so we think that in order to be unified,
We gotta dress and act.
we all got to go here, or we all have to go there, as opposed to saying, look, our whole goal is to celebrate the legacy of Dr. King, and we're choosing to do it in these ways. That's the objective.
Yes.
And then how you express yourself should be supported on every level.
In every pocket of our community.
Absolutely.
Not just in one pocket. Because what that one pocket does, it puts us in a box that we don't want to be in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
So when the resources scramble out, we don't want to be standing in our box, because this box is only entitled to this amount of resources.
Right.
So now when we spread out, we get a couple of that resources, we get some of them resources over there, and now, like what happened this year, we were spread out all over the city.
And it was beautiful.
And it was beautiful. It was 5,000 people here,
Right.
15,000
That's
people
true.
there, another 2,000 along
And
that
every
road.
celebration, they talked about, like, I went to the Trop. I was sick that weekend, but I went out to the Trop. Don't do traffic. That's another thing. Me and my daughter, we was going to 9th Street,
The traffic.
but because I had to sit, I ain't really that dude to just sit and wait, you know. So I was like, you know what? I'm finna take this left going, by Enoch, because that's where it started piling up. Going by
man.
and it was like, nah, I ain't got time to sit here and just. But I mean, that's just me though.
Yeah.
And I can't say those who sit in the traffic to make it down there is wrong, because they do that for miles and miles to go to a Rays game or to go to a Bucks game.
And Brother John, when you see that traffic jam for a Rays game, you thinking economics.
Yeah.
You thinking how good it is for the city. So why, when it's a black event, that traffic jam is bad?
Yes.
Those are people rushing to spend their money on 9th Street.
Yes.
That can never be a bad thing when economics is the thing we need the most.
Absolutely.
So what we have to do is find a balance in the middle ground, so when them economic dollars come in, we can be there to collect them. Not fighting over the city resources that it takes to get it.
And counting who got what and pocket watching
It's
everything.
more money coming in
Right.
than is out there.
That's
so
true.
we can get it coming in, and it's just organized. You stand on that side, I stand on this side, and when he come to you, and it's organized.
Yeah, and you really make it a
And we
local
profit
utopia,
from
as we
it.
said.
And we profit from it. And that's the beauty of Martin Luther King. That's what Martin Luther King does for our community. It is the influx of cash and visitors. St. Pete is a destination, but South St. Pete is a destination only for the Martin Luther King parade.
Right.
And you know what? Let's embrace that.
Yeah.
Let's embrace
So
the fact.
if that's the fact, then
Let's embrace it.
and let's make it as large as we can.
And we can capitalize. Every small business can make an extra $1,000 on that day.
Yeah.
Or every major corporation can make $1 million.
Right.
If you plan and strategize it that way.
Right.
But if we're so busy fighting each other and arguing and bickering and guess what?
With that either or mentality, where I gotta either go here or go there, as opposed to saying both and. I can go to this one and I can go to that one and support it.
And
like
support
you said.
and support. I went to every event. Brother John walked down on 9th Street. The love was real, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, when I jumped out the car, because it was a traffic jam. And you know, I'm an antsy person. I'm not finna sit in this car.
Yeah.
I jumped out the car and walked up the street. As soon as I walked up the street, somebody gave me a cup. Boy, what's up to him? They handed here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what made me think about St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
That's why I made that analogy, because of what I seen.
Yes.
And how it made me feel. And I'm walking with my cup, you know, and I'm feeling like, boy, this feel like Mardi Gras or something.
Right. And it's big cities that make that
and it's all right.
Yeah,
and the police are they're there, you know, and it's confrontational. And it doesn't have to be. It can be like when I walk past and the police looking at me, I'm looking at him, he can say, hi, what's up? I can say, you know, what's up, man?
Right.
You know, and when we're leaving, they don't have to be shaking their pepper spray saying, get out of here. They can say, hey, man, party's over, see you next year.
Yes.
And greeting me to come back.
Yeah.
So no way, that'll help me leave quicker.
Yes.
Because I know I'm welcome back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But when you running me off,
When you
it's like,
running me off, hold up, I ain't going nowhere.
Because I live 2 blocks down, right?
And that's what the officer may not know.
Yes.
You're shaking your pepper spray telling me to leave and to go that way, but my house is right there behind you, officer.
Yes.
I haven't come from miles away. I come from 2 blocks away.
Yes.
And the reality is that's the ethics that not only the culture trade, because you can learn about my culture, but that won't help you ethically deal with me any better.
Right.
You may need to learn the ethics that are involved with your occupation.
That's true. So let's start that. I mean, we know we can do this all day because we do it all the time.
All day. Y'all ain't
you never really know. So again, we're gonna take a real quick break. We'll be right back with the last segment for this edition of the Lakeside Chat. All right, welcome back to the Lakeside Chat. Brother John Muhammad sitting here with a one-on-one with Brother Jabbar Edmonds, and we've covered a lot of ground, and we want to continue to cover that ground. And so, just picking up a little bit of where we left off, and dealing with the social media, because that was another part of the panel that you were on. It was dealing with social media and the movement. And so, would you like to talk about some of the pros and cons of social media as it specifically related to you and the work that you've been doing in the community?
All right, yeah, definitely. On the pro side, because I'm a positive person, so I definitely want to look to the pluses first.
Right.
And on the positive side, it gives the average person an amount of power that you don't ordinarily get through way of finding information, by way of broadcasting information, by way of receiving. You know what I mean, as well as sending.
Right.
And what it gives you the ability to do is reach people in places and spaces that you've never been to. Like before the Flint, Michigan thing, you remember I was talking to you about Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
You know, and I found out about their water. It was not a secret.
Yes.
It pulled right up, and I was talking to you about it.
Yeah.
And then the next week, it hit the fan.
Yes.
And the web allowed me to be there.
I remember.
You know what I mean? In all aspects, stats, statistics, and then very similar to St. Pete. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I was telling you about, how Flint is so close to St. Pete. And not only like has that water disaster, we also just had our own water disaster.
Yes.
And we be getting so distracted by the parades and parties. We forget that, you know what, we're very much like Flint. We're close to Ferguson. We're more closer.
Yeah.
And while we're partying and parading around, we forgot to keep asking about the body cameras. We forgot to keep asking.
We took our eyes off the ball. Yeah.
And guess what? Ain't nobody else gonna bring it up if we don't.
That's true.
And the problem is, it's so easy to complain than it is to do something.
Right. And so you're saying specifically as it relates to social media, that's the pros is the worldwide reach.
Yep.
What are some of the cons?
Well, the cons to me is I call them. I was talking to you, couch assassins.
Okay.
And people will sit at home and assassinate your character from the comfort of their home.
Mm-hmm.
And
they don't even know you or know the situation.
And it's become so easy to turn on your video and expose. That's the thing. They call it expose. I'm finna expose their ass.
Okay.
And you know, a lot of people felt that that's what this interview was gonna be about.
Okay.
They thought Jabbar was finna expose some turkey, right? But guess what? I'm not exposing nobody because when you assassinate the character of a community leader, you're assassinating the character of the community he leads.
Yes.
And it gets so deep, we forget about that because we're some militant, smart, educated people out here. But we forget when I'm talking about Reverend whoever, but I'm also talking about his entire congregation.
Yes.
Which might be the biggest congregation in the city.
Right.
Of the
and it might have some of the most committed and loyal volunteers, the ones that show up for every rally, the ones that advocate at the CRA meetings, the ones that do all of the work, but you're assassinating the character of their spiritual head.
Of their leader, and you effectively clip the wings of the whole congregation.
Right.
And
wow.
The social media age doesn't understand the power of character assassination because our generation didn't experience and don't know too much about it. So it's easy for me to just retweet or share this post and push on the negative. And then when the apology comes or when they take the post down because they were wrong, no one corrects it.
Yes. That's like what Cat Williams, he said on the news, they'll show him getting arrested. But they never show when they drop the charges. And he's been arrested all of these times, but he never was convicted.
And really, my eyes is to break it down smaller than the media because the media doesn't have the power it had 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
Now we're the media.
Yeah. And that's what the social media, right?
We are the media.
Right.
And in my mind, that's why it was important for me to speak up on these things because I want to control the narrative about me.
Yeah.
I want to control the narrative about the history and legacy of Jabbar Edwards.
Yes.
Not only do I want to control the narrative about me, I want to control the narrative of the Martin Luther King celebration.
Yes.
I want to come out and say celebration. Champions, y'all.
Yes.
We are because we control the story. But if we let the couch assassins and the media control the narrative, all you're going to see is the negative news.
Right. You'll see St. Pete divided over Dr. King's celebration. And then you have these two camps and people feel like they got to choose a side and not go back to what you just said earlier, which you really highlighted and dropped a lot of jewels. I hope, that our audience can really pick up what you was putting down because it's a viewpoint that is missing from a lot of the discussions that we see on social media. A lot of people are pigeonholed and well-meaning people. You have people that are sincere, and I think that's one of the other parts of it too. You have a lot of people that really are sincere, and that's what makes them so angry and so bitter because the ones that really don't mean well, they're not going to be as passionate about it, but they kind of sly and skillfully maneuvering and manipulating the pieces, and they keep us as a community fighting and arguing with each other while, like you said, the day that we're arguing, they're taking a vote on something that's going to affect us 10, 20, 30 years from now. Then we arguing over, a one-day thing or a two-day thing.
We're arguing over a parking space.
Right, a parking lot.
You know what I mean? And in my eyes, and I'm not saying or throwing shade on nothing or anyone.
Right.
What I'm saying is we have to realize what's going on because we can party in the parking lot and we can take it to the Hilton.
Yeah.
We can go to the penthouse. It's our decisions of where we want to go, but let's collectively decide.
Right.
So we're not sitting there 20 years from now when downtown St. Pete looks like Atlanta.
Yes.
And Southside St. Pete looks like Baton Rouge.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And what we have to do is know that this change is here. We got to seize this opportunity now. We cannot wait till next Martin Luther King to hold hands and walk down to City Hall and complain.
Right.
We need to be in those meetings now so when the deal is inked, our name is already on it, or we know what our stake is in it.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. I just want.
And our ideas are on the table because a lot of the good ideas that we have them in forums like this at the lake, but we don't take it to the next level and advance those ideas to the people who are in positions, elected officials and these committee and city staffers who are in positions to actually move our ideas forward. When it comes down to that part of the process, that's when we jump ship and we look for somebody else to do it. And when they don't do it, we get mad.
Thank you, brother. That's what I was gonna say. 'Cause right now in St. Pete, we have never had such a diverse staff on the city.
Yeah.
We never had such a group of leaders led by the women, Kanika and Nikki. I'm talking about all the way to Miss Deborah Figs at the Y. I'm talking about we are led by some very strong black women right now and men.
Yes.
Like never before, in numbers like never before. But the first thing you hear about is the poverty pimp.
Yeah.
So now you think, oh, all the leaders on the South Side are nothing but poverty pimp.
Right.
But that's not true.
That's not the majority. Not it's some. It is some.
It's some, but,
right.
but it's not
the majority.
It's not the majority.
That's true.
It's a few people.
And I have to say I've been guilty of contributing to that too, because it's a pet peeve that I have. And there, you know, when you got your personal thing, that's your personal thing. You know what I mean? Because I can't stand that, and so I speak on it and not realizing what you said.
It's more
and not really. I realize it, but you don't think about it at the time. You know, you make that post. And that's how you feel, and they say, "What's on your mind? What's
like
on your mind?"
Bang!
right.
You know what I mean? And sometimes we have to, because in my mind, I look at our community because I lived there all my life, and I see more black leaders in places of power than ever before.
Young people. I mean, you see like the Corey Gibbons, you see Lewis Stevens, you see like even G. Breed, and the way that he's leading and stirring up the pot, and I mean even leaders that lead in a way that you don't even see them. You know, they leading, but they're not out here saying, "I am your leader." They just doing the work. You know what I mean?
Leading from behind. And I agree, and I support all of them.
Right.
And
absolutely.
I support all the organizations. I'll be at the NAACP. I'll go to the SCLC.
You and me both. I mean,
I will go
2020 task force.
Exactly.
Wrap around.
I will go to the church. I will go to the mosque. If it's about my community, I'll go there. I'll go to the trap and chill and talk to Poop and them and break it down to them, and then I'll go and City Hall and I'll chop it up with Miss Lisa. I will do what it takes to help my community, because it's only helping myself. It's only helping my kids, because when I'm gone, they have to be here, and I don't want the water to be brown because I was partying at the parade.
Wow, and I think that's a good place to end. We're gonna do it again, man. So, well, I want to thank you, Brother Jabbar, for really, you know, coming on this side of the camera and sharing your views, because you are an asset. I mean, I tell anybody, from the time I met you and started working with you, the way that you've helped me to grow and the things that you've helped me to accomplish is priceless, because of your commitment, your passion, your willingness to do all of the things that you said, and just keeping your word, keeping your integrity. And so I appreciate that, and I'm sure those who know you and really know you and know your work also appreciates it. And so we want to just encourage you, man, to continue to believe and do good, bro.
Yeah, I definitely want to thank you, because like I said, you ushered me into a lot of, you know, good places and good spaces to meet a lot of good people. And I like to thank, all the organizations and groups that have welcomed me to work with them. Alongside them, the NAACP, the SCLC.
Yeah, you're on the executive committee of the NAACP.
I like
that's another story for another time. We'll talk about how, because I know you was instrumental in starting that conversation about the NAACP
through social media.
right.
Straight up.
And you started the ball rolling, and then there was interest that came about. So.
And I can't forget to thank, you know, the leaders in our community, and we have a amazing crop of leaders right now, and the people need to find a way to support them. We need to be down there supporting Ms. Lisa Brown and her initiatives and her plans and her goals. We need to support Ms. Flowers at the school board to help these failing 5 schools. We need to rally around this leadership that we have and put away the differences that is paralyzing our community. That's why things are still the same on the South Side as they were 10, 15 years ago, but any other part of town has made progress. Because
they're able to unite on the issues and support those who are in leadership, whether they agree with everything that they do or not.
These other communities are in shambles as well as ours. You have the conservative fighting against the neo-conservative, fighting against the
Tea parties.
It's so many, and we look at ourselves like we just can't get along. No, that's a human problem.
Right.
That's not an African black problem.
Right.
That's a human problem.
Right.
But what the other groups have mastered is putting the differences to the side. And what we have to do is not be so pigeonholed or strong to our differences that we can't put the difference to the side. Hold on, let's put the difference. The boat is sinking.
Yeah.
Let's put that difference to the side and plug the boat.
Right.
And go home.
Thank you, Brother Jabbar. Thank you to our New Image staff, and we appreciate that. We're going to shout them out. This is also a part of the New Image project, and we're really looking forward to some great things with the Lakeside Chats. Always tune in every week, 2 o'clock on Sundays. And again, we encourage you to support the initiative, support Brother Jabbar, support our work, and just get involved. You don't have to join us, just join somebody, some movement, and make your contribution known. So with that, we'll leave you in peace. Believe and do good.